The infographic on the front page of Infowars.com says it all. It's an image from the mountains of El Paso, Texas, on the Mexican border. And the headline reads, ISIS is operating a camp just a few miles from El Paso, Texas, Judicial Watch. Joe Biggs and Josh Owens filed a report last night. They're on the ground in El Paso. They've already been into the edge of Mexico. They are inches away from getting a pilot to take them into the area where the reported jihadi base is located. They have the basic coordinates. So pray for those guys. They're going to be joining us with a breakdown of what they've done so far at the bottom of the hour. They may not be able to do that because the plane may be getting ready to take off right then. They're trying to make arrangements right now. Obviously, most pilots are scared to even do it. There's nothing illegal about it. These are pilots licensed to fly into Mexico. But we're working on that right now. And, of course, folks will say, well, keep it secret what you're doing. No, then they could set them up and spin something. We're openly just reporters doing our job. Judicial Watch, highly respected, has the documents, has the sources that, well, they admit thousands of jihadist types are coming across. It's being covered up. Congressmen are on record. And we're being set up basically for an ISIS attack. The Pentagon has told the military, don't even wear your uniforms out in the open. Don't use military lingo or jargon. So we're there to investigate this situation. Then we have the gentleman joining us who got pulled over in Florida by the armored tank and threatened by the police. And we've also have some other special guests joining us on special reports today. It is a jam-packed news transmission. Huge amounts of intel right after this quick break. But first off, here is part of Joe Biggs' first report from the border. See the video at Infowars.com.
Joe Biggs here with Infowars.com. Right now we are on the border of Juarez, Mexico. That is right behind me in this area, the area that's lit up. We've come out here to investigate an article we saw by Judicial Watch saying that they've got intel that there are basically ISIS sleeper cells, people training over here in an area called Anapra. Now we're going to fly over tomorrow in a single-engine Cessna, a very small plane, try to get low flying altitude footage of that compound. And then we're also going to go investigate the East Portillo Mountains, which is just west of us in New Mexico. Now, we've shown you time and time again how these borders are intentionally left wide open, that a threat like ISIS could possibly come across. Now, a lot of people go, well, ISIS is funded by America. Yeah, we got that. We know that we accidentally dropped weapons caches off of that. We know that we're funding them, but it's the old Frankenstein thing. Dr. Frankenstein is the Obama administration, and these guys are the monsters. ISIS is out of control, and they're chopping people's heads off, killing Christians in record numbers. And this is something we've come out here to investigate. We want to bring awareness to the fact that these guys are operating now right at our border. Now, we've already heard reports that these guys are apparently already operating in every state. This could be the key spot where they're coming over right now. So for the next few days, we're going to be out here investigating what's going on, looking into this, and bringing you guys as much information so we can keep you up to date. Once again, I'm Joe Biggs with Infowars.com.
That's an excellent quick report. We should again add that the FBI says ISIS is in all 50 states, that they are coming across the border, and brace for imminent attack. And ISIS is publishing videos saying they're going to destroy the United States. And Joe Big, back in September of last year, went with Josh Owens to that very spot because he'd been stationed at Fort Bliss when he got out of the Army, there at Biggs Field, strangely enough. And he had said, this is the type of place, if I was ISIS, I would come across. Because we knew that they were across the border there. He said that very spot, that's where they now say the Mexican authorities and others say they are coming across and that it's being allowed to happen. So we are over the target, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to have those reporters on today, and they're going to be up in the air, Lord willing. So give them some prayers for Providence. Infowars.com, tip of the spear of real journalism. For 2,000-plus miles from South Texas, stretching all the way to the coast of the Pacific Ocean in California, there are giant sectors of complete lawlessness. 75 miles into Arizona, there are signs up telling citizens not to go down major paved roads and saying that up to a third of the state is now under cartel control. And in that festering criminal zone, that 2,200-mile pockmarked zone, the FBI, Homeland Security, members of Congress, and now the Mexican government, all so they don't get the blame when the attacks come, are warning that ISIS has training camps right across the New Mexico border and the Southeast Texas, Southwest Texas border zone. Joe Biggs and Josh Owens are there, and they are investigating the reported training camp. But we know that thousands of other than Mexicans, you can pull these numbers up, they're mainstream news, come across every month just in that border crossing sector that they're at alone. And the majority of them are from China. And then after that, they are from the Middle East. And many of them are jihadis. And ISIS has said they're infiltrating. And again, ISIS comes out of Europe and comes out of England and comes out of the U.S. and Canada. They recruit young radical Islamicists to the secret army that the West was openly funding to launch major attacks for 4 years against Assad in Syria, but also against Egypt, our supposed ally, who CNN then praised the jihadis when they overthrew that government, and to overthrow Gaddafi, who we double-crossed, who for 8 years worked with the West and apologized and paid reparations and brought in U.S. companies and European companies, and then they set him up and brought in the jihadis. And that is not a good Americana policy to try to destabilize countries and bring in tyrants. So you've got Al-Qaeda armed with 50 caliber Barretts. We're showing video of this if you're a TV viewer at Infowars.com right now. When they came into Syria and then into Iraq. In some cases, up to 300 trucks bought in the U.S. These are cartels in Chihuahua. I had thought you were rolling ISIS video, and it looked almost identical. And I knew those were American-made trucks. That is making my head spin, how you can put these cartels right next to ISIS, and it looks like the same people. And that's exactly what the State Department and others have been admitting, is that the cartels are now linking up with ISIS, and they have similar tactics. In fact, you can put in the headline, Mexican cartels and ISIS have similar tactics, are basically merging. And then we can show the video of the cartels again, but the video I was wanting to show is the ISIS folks coming into Iraq. Wow. That looked exactly like ISIS. You're talking about 30, 40, 50, or maybe more vehicles just taking over entire sectors of Mexico to illustrate my point about how lawless it is down there. Simply incredible. I'm going to break this down in detail at the bottom of the hour. Headline, Infowars.com. ISIS has camps on the U.S. border, but Obama says right-wing extremists are the greatest terror threat. ISIS camps now have been discovered directly across the U.S. and Mexico border. And that's by Judicial Watch. I mean, I can't find a time where Judicial Watch was wrong. They just get government documents. They double-check government sources. They have broken, on Republicans and Democrats, basically everything. I mean, they were reporting back in 2001, 2002, the Saudi connection to 9/11. That was one of our sources. We had folks on from Judicial Watch then. That's now all been confirmed. And they're saying multiple camps right across the Texas and New Mexico border, only about 30 miles apart from each other, because El Paso is very close there in southwest Texas to the New Mexico, three corners, you know, kind of three different, two states, one country come together right there. I guess you could say four corners because it's two countries and two states all come together right there. But pretty amazing. We're going to be breaking that down at the bottom of the hour in details. We are going to be, I think they've got it set, a pilot to take them in over the camp. I talk about it because it actually gives our people, in my experience, more safety from the U.S. government or somebody else trying to shoot them down and blame it on somebody else or stop them trying to document this camp. And we're not going to be stopped. If we get stopped going in by air, we're going to go in by ground. And I'm not going to announce when that's going to be, obviously, if that happens, but I'll probably have to go down there myself as well. And I'll have to wait till Buckley, who's on vacation, comes back, because he grew up and was born in Guatemala and speaks fluent Spanish. And he's actually hung around down there over the border in that area before, but I'm not going to get into that story. So I've got to wait till he gets back till we do that. But this is a big deal. We're going to go out there, and this is obviously a very dangerous area. I mean, on lakes bordering Mexico down in that area, if you're out jet skiing or on a fishing boat, they'll just drive up and shoot you. And the politically correct media will try to cover it up. And there have been a lot of cases of that. So pray for the crew down there, Josh Owens and Joe Biggs. Monday through Friday, we're here. No compromise, hardcore, in the face of the globalist. I'm your host, Alex Jones, dedicated to telling the truth, dedicated to researching history, dedicated to taking on the globalist. And I have assembled an amazing team of men and women who are dedicated to liberty and telling the truth as well. We are about to go to Joe Biggs and Josh Owens right there on the Texas border. I know they're planning to go into Mexico. They may be in Mexico, it looks like it, from the Skype feed. If you're a radio listener, you can go to Infowars.com/show to find the free video feed right now so you can actually see our guys there on the ground. Here's the headline, Infowars.com, economic collapse blog story. ISIS has camps on the U.S. border, but Obama says right-wing extremists are the greatest terror threat. ISIS camps have now been discovered directly across the U.S. border with Mexico, and we've now confirmed that these training drills, like the one in California last weekend, are to take on sovereign citizens, veterans, and gun owners. As we predicted, now from Florida to California, the videos are coming in, and they are targeting to round up patriots. Gee, wonder why InfoWars was banned from the exercise. Judicial Watch, highly respected, has got the intel, the documents. Congressmen have gone public as well. We know thousands a month, other than Mexicans, many of them Middle Eastern, come across the border. Joe Biggs, who was stationed at Fort Bliss before he got out of the Army as a staff sergeant, wanted to go down there last year saying, they say ISIS is over the border from South Texas with the early reports that have now been confirmed. I want to go down there and show where I think they'd come across, right by the city park on the edge of El Paso, where it's a half-foot deep water. Turns out Judicial Watch, with the Mexican authorities and others, have come out and said that exact 1 mile stretch is indeed where they're coming through. And a quarter mile from there, they leave these huge gates open at night, and we have that footage as well. So we're going to condense all this together into one special report tonight on the news. But Joe Biggs is there. They're working on getting an aircraft. At this point, I've said they're going in. I don't want to give too much about did they get one or when this is going to happen, but it's very soon. But Joe's going to give us a breakdown of what's happened so far via the magic of Skype there on the border. Joe Biggs and Josh Owens, you left yesterday at about 6, filed a report late last night. What have you learned since? Break it all down.
Well, right now, Alex, we are standing outside of Anapra. Anapra is the area that is listed in the Judicial Watch report stating that there is a possible ISIS terror cell operating over there. That place is pretty much run by a lot of the drug cartels from Juarez. So we're standing on this mountain range just on the other side. If we walk across though here, we could be in Anapra. But yes, like you said earlier, we're trying to work on an aircraft right now, a small plane, to be able to hover over this area and fly around and try to get some footage and possibly spot this area and get that footage out to you guys.
I see the El Norte train. That's one of the actual trains the illegals jump on by the tens of thousands a day to come into the U.S. Don't see any on that one. But that is just an amazing image of you out there in the desert and the mountains with the train going through.
Yeah, there's a lot of activity out here. I mean, this is the one area, though, where the Border Patrol actually have to have their armored vehicles. They have to have the cages up over the windows because Anapra is a pretty bad area. I mean, Juarez is bad given, but this place right here, the actual border fence, which is not even that great, is right along the side of the city. So just splitting between, you know, the U.S. and Anapra is this little fence. So
I can see the fence. Looks like you're, what, about 600 yards from that?
Yeah, it ends, though, right over my left shoulder, and then there's nothing going up really that much up to the top of the hill.
How many yards away would you say from the end of that black fence we see right there?
You're about 800.
800 yards?
Yeah. This is about the best view that we could get up high enough so you could actually see the city.
Well, I want to talk to you off air during the next break to decide what we're going to do. But everything's looking good right now.
Yeah, everything is good thus far. I'm trying to work on a couple different plans. Like I said, we're going to try to take a trip out to the East Portillo Mountains tomorrow, which is about an hour and 20-minute drive. Possibly try to fly over that today as well, because they said that's where the ISIS spotters are posted up in that mountain ridge, trying to look over the Mexican border. And then when they give them the all clear, they signal them through.
Amazing. And again, Judicial Watch says the camp's there. Congress people say they're coming across. They've been caught coming across. Why do you think they'd want to whitewash this and cover this up and then have one of the biggest domestic exercises ever to take on patriots at the same time? What do you think's going on, Joe?
Well, I mean, even the local news around here is just saying, oh, we contacted Border Patrol officials. They say that this article from Judicial Watch is basically bogus and there's no evidence to support these claims. And this is what we've been hearing for the past year, Alex. I mean, we keep hearing that, this isn't happening. The border's secure. It's not wide open. And then eventually somebody releases an article, shows pictures where they've captured 4, Iraqi guys with, that are ISIS sympathizers, and they're finding prayer rugs, and they're finding, translation books from Arabic and Urdu to English and all this stuff out here, and prayer beads. So there's something definitely going on.
Well, it's the Border Patrol people that are actually leaking the information, and it's in their reports, thousands other than Mexican. That's what they call it in the reports. You can see Iraq, Syria, Saudi Arabia, Libya. But then it's not just that. There's also other jihadis from Western countries coming in, and this is where they're coming into the country. And it's just amazing that they're trying to cover this up because they don't want folks to know the border is wide open.
Yeah, because, then that means then it shows that their almighty Obama is not doing his job just like he promises he is, because most of the sheep think he's doing a great job right now. If they actually came out here to the border, that's what I tell people all the time. People always want to get mad and yell at me like, oh, you don't know what you're talking about. You're just crazy. Well, I've actually been out here numerous times. This is like my 5th trip to El Paso in the last year. Nothing's changed. Nothing is improved. The border is completely and totally wide open in many places. Maybe not the entire border everywhere, but all you need is a gap, and that word of mouth travels down south, and everyone knows where that gap is, and they exploit it, and they go through it. And there's nothing being done to stop it or patch it up.
Well, sure. And of course, still the Obamanoids support Obama, but the majority of Americans in all the polls aren't buying it. So that's why the media is trying to keep clamps on it. But Sha'Carri Jackson and our other reporters last year went down to McAllen, also in South Texas, because of our Border Patrol sources. And they were there saying they're ordered to let the illegals through, and they give them vouchers and ship them in. And that's now mainstream media. So they don't want this getting out, but it is getting out that it's happening.
But the funny thing is, though, is when I go out and I show the borders where they're open, the Border Patrol will try and sometimes hassle you. Sometimes they'll be like, oh, what are you doing out this way? You can't get close to the border. I'll be like, why not? You're letting illegals through. Why can't I, as a citizen, walk on my own soil, which is all the way up to the fence? I can go wherever I want to. So they want to try to hassle people sometimes, which I think is just trying to help cover up the fact that the border's open.
Well, sure, that's their order. They get reprimanded or fired if they report on the illegals coming in. That's in the news. And they're even told, let them go when they commit crimes, because that's what the criminal, illegitimate government wants. Just because the Border Patrol, most of them follow their orders, doesn't mean that we're going to follow the globalist operations. And again, I don't want to just make the Border Patrol the enemy here. They're really upset about what's happening, but at the same time, they're just replacing them with these political officers that will engage in the treason. And I have been down at the border myself. We have footage of it down by Big Bend, and they have the Border Patrol spotting with their binoculars and radios college kids, but also adults, drinking beer on the Rio Grande and throwing footballs, and then they come up and give you tickets while the illegals come across right in front of them. So they're not allowed to do that.
I wouldn't doubt it. I mean, I've seen that tons of times. I mean, quite frankly, almost every trip I've been on, I see Border Patrol agents posted up in their vehicles playing Angry Birds or something like that. Or almost one time we were flying, I think it was with Glenn Spencer, we were flying, a guy was laying up on the hood of the vehicle, just like posted up, just like trying to get some sun, not watching what was going on, not watching the fact that in that area of Arizona, there's really no border, and there's just barbed wire fence.
They're not allowed to do their job. They've been ordered. I mean, it was in the news 2 weeks ago, like Associated Press. I remember the headline, Border Patrol ordered to ignore large groups of illegals.
Yeah.
I mean, if they pull over a van full of 15 people and the driver's drunk, they're openly ordered to release them, but then go out and find citizens who are the enemy. I'm telling you, it's sick.
And then you don't even know who's in that large group who has these ISIS connections or intentions, who are trying to meet up with other sleeper cells in the country to do harm. You know, right here in El Paso, you've got Fort Bliss, which is the largest tank division in the world. I mean, there's 60, 70,000 troops here. That's a huge base.
That's Task Force 6, right?
Yes. You also have a huge power grid location that we did some reports from last time when Josh Owens and I were here. These are big targets. You have White Sands Missile Range, where there's a lot of military stuff that goes on there. There's a lot of stuff out here where a potential attack could happen. I mean, just over this on the other side of the mountain over here, you have the University of Texas, El Paso. This is a prime spot for something like that. That's why they need to spend money on fixing this border. They need security. They need to beef up the security out here, and they're not doing it because all of this stuff right now is just, it's just sad that they're not doing anything about it.
Well, how are they going to get away with it when their Al-Qaeda boys, ISIS boys, attack a mall or attack that university or attack the military base? I mean, imagine 500 or 50, 10, whatever the number's going to be, Major Hassan's attacking the base, and they won't even call it a terror attack when it happens. I mean, it's just incredible because they got to keep that border open to collapse us into the North American Union, Joe.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. I totally agree. So hopefully we can get some information out here while we're out here today. We're still waiting on this confirmation from a pilot to get out here and get footage over Arapa and then get down to the East Portillo Mountains as well.
All right. Well, I know you guys can go in there as well. We're in the Judicial Watch documents. They're saying...
Oh, one other thing, too, though. The East Portillo Mountains, from what I've been looking into, is mostly overlooked by BLM. So if there's BLM there, then there's also these, you know, reports of ISIS spotters. You know, that's another thing to think about. What's going on there?
Well, our government at the highest levels has been criminally aiding and abetting the leadership of ISIS, which is just Al-Qaeda in Iraq. I mean, they admit that. And so just to confuse the public, because it'd be too much if the government got caught funding Al-Qaeda, so they just changed the name to confuse people. It's just really incredible that this is happening. And, Joe, if you see the Border Patrol, you know, usually they follow you and act like you've done something wrong, or the state police, go over to them. I mean, we're not the enemy, even though they've been trained we are, and say, hey, you know, are you aware of these Judicial Watch reports? And, I mean, obviously, they're going to say, go talk to Public Affairs. And you go talk to Public Affairs, they'll give you a card and call you in 1,000 years. But just continue. You can do a man on the street asking folks if they're aware of what's going on. Joe Biggs and Josh Owens, a great job. You guys be safe down there.
Thank you.
All right, there they go from right there at the border. And it's already muy caliente down there. My name is Alex Jones. Most of you know me from my syndicated radio program and my documentary films, as well as InfoWars Nightly News. When I got on air 20 years ago, I had discovered the globalist program, their plan to take over the world and install a corporate fascist state. I had read their own books, discovered their own documents, and my focus went from running 6 miles every other day, swimming 2-3 miles a couple times a week, and lifting weights, to focusing on fighting the globalist. I transformed my body from the beautiful gift that God gave me into something more akin to Jabba the Hutt. It became an internet joke. But now I've started the transformation back to getting my body, my temple, in shape. And I'm about to tell you how I did it. I've gone from 279 pounds all the way down to 235 pounds, and the weight's going off even faster. Super Male Vitality, Survival Shield X2 Nascent Iodine, and Oxy Powder. Those 3 products of the entire family of InfoWarsLife.com products are the most important from my own personal experience. The problem was, though, I'd never been a vitamin and mineral and supplement taker before, so I kept forgetting to do it. So after I'd lost over 60 pounds, just a month and a half ago, I asked the crew to take a photo of me in the same lighting to see what I could do in just a month and a half. This is what happened in just 45 days. We took this photo back there in the back office, and I already lost a lot of weight, but I lost another 6 pounds with the Oxy Powder and the other products at InfoWarsLife.com, and this photo was just taken a few days ago. And it wasn't just that my weight loss accelerated. My muscle mass increased. My stamina, my energy levels exploded. Now is the time to take action. Start your journey today with the Alex Challenge Pack. It's the trifecta of change. Secure yours today and get free shipping for a limited time at InfoWarsLife.com or 888-253-3139.